Hi 7th graders, I hope everyone has been doing well. Today we are going to be going through 2.4, which is all about adding and subtracting unlike fractions. So if you want to pause the video and fill out your topic and your learning target, our topic is adding and subtracting fractions, and our learning target is I can add and subtract fractions with unlike denominators by finding the least common multiple to figure out the denominator of the fraction. Alright, so we are going to start by filling out some definitions. So, up in the top, we're going to be talking about least common multiple, or maybe you've heard it as LCM. That's another way to phrase least common multiple. So what least common multiple is it is the smallest positive number that is a multiple of two or more numbers. Alright, so let's look at an example. Let's try to find the multiples of 6 and 5. Alright, so I'm going to count by sixes. That's what a multiple is. It's just counting by sixes. 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, 42. I'll stop there for now. Now we're going to do the same thing with 5. Count by fives. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. I'm going to stop there. Now what we want to figure out is we want to find the one that is the least that they both share. So when I'm looking at this list of numbers, I see 30 in both of them. Do you as well? So our least common multiple between 6 and 5 would be 30. Alright, so now when we're adding fractions with unlike denominators, we need to make sure that we find a common denominator. So to find a common denominator, that is why we use least common multiples. So if we look at 3 and 6, let's use least common multiples and figure out what our common denominator would be. So let's start counting by threes. 3, 6, 9, 12. Now let's do the same thing with 6. 6, 12, 15, 18. Oops, sorry, not 15. 3, 6, 12, 18, 24. Which one do they both share that is the smallest number? Right, they both share this 6. So that means that's going to be my denominator. And if you notice, I already have one that's a sixth. Okay, so I need to multiply my 1/3 to figure it out. So to multiply my 1/3, I know my new denominator is going to be 6. So I think to myself, 3 times what gives me 6? And I know 3 times 2 gives me 6. So what I do to the bottom, I also have to do to the top. So 2 times 1 is 2. Alright, so I multiplied 1/3 by 2. And now I'm going to rewrite my fractions with the common denominator. So now instead of 1/3 up here, I actually have 2/6 plus 1/6. And now I'm going to add straight across. 2 plus 1 gives me 3, and my denominator stays the same. Alright, but I know I can simplify 3/6. If I simplify this, I can divide by 3 to get my simplified answer. 3 divided by 3 is 1, 6 divided by 3 is 2. So when I add 1/3 plus 1/6, I get 1/2 for an answer. Alright, so now let's look at number 1. I'm going to erase this line here. I am taking 3/4 plus 7/10. So to do this, I need to find my least common multiple first. So we're going to count by 4s and 10s. You can choose to count by the bigger number first, and then that way you only need to count to the one that they share first. So let's do that way. Let's count by 10s first. 10, 20, 30, 40. Now let's count by our 4s. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. I'm going to stop there because if you notice, my first number that they both had was 20. So my denominator I'm going to use as 20. So let's look at 3/4. Change colors. There we go. 3/4. My new denominator is going to be 20. And I know to get from 4 to 20, I'm taking 4 times 5. So I need to do the same with the top. 3 times 5 gives me 15. Okay, we're going to do the same thing with 7/10. 7/10. My new denominator I said was 20. And we need to figure out how many times I'm multiplying 10 to get to 20. 10 times 2 gives me 20, so I do the same with the top. 7 times 2 gives me 14. Alright, so now comes the part where I rewrite my numbers. I have 15 over 20 plus 14 over 20. My denominator stays the same when I add, but my numerator I'm taking 15 plus 14, which gives me 29. Can I simplify 29 over 20? I can't. I could make it be 1 and 9 over 20, but you can't simplify 9 over 20. So I am done. Alright, let's try number 2. This time I have 7/9 and I have 1/6. So the first thing we need to do when we add these is we need to find our common denominator. So we're going to count by 6s and we're going to count by 9s. Let's start counting by 9s. 9, 18, 27, 36, 45, 54. Now let's count by 6s. So the first number that I have, I'm going to stop. 6, 12, 18, and I see I have 18 in this 9s list. So my denominator is going to be 18. Alright, let's figure out what our new fractions will be. So I have 7/9 is my first one, and I know my denominator is going to be 18. 9 times 2 gives me 18. 7 times 2 gives me 14. So my first fraction is 14 over 18. Now let's do the second fraction. 1/6. My denominator is 18. 6 times what gives me 18? 6 times 3 gives me 18. So 1 times 3 gives me 3. So now I have my new fractions written. Now we're going to add them. I have 14 over 18 plus 3 over 18. When you add them, your denominators stay the same. 14 plus 3 gives me 17. So my answer is 17 over 18, and I cannot simplify that. So that is my answer. Alright, let's look at number 3. 16 over 25 plus 4 over 5. So we're going to find our least common multiple by counting by these numbers. So we have 25 and we have 5. Let's count by 25s. 25, 50, 75, 100. Now let's count by 5s. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and I can stop there because they both have 25 in common. So what that means is that is my new denominator. And if you notice, 16 over 25 is already having a denominator of 25. So I just need to change 4/5. So I have 4 over 5, and I know my denominator is 25. So 4 times 5 gives me 25, so I need to, 5 times 5 gives me 25. So now I need to do the 4 times 5, which gives me 20. Alright, now we're going to add these numbers. Oops. I have 16 over 25 plus 20 over 25. When I add, my denominators stay the same. 16 plus 20 gives me 36. Alright, so now we need to think to ourselves, can I simplify that number? I can't. The bottom number is not divisible by 2. The bottom number is not divisible by 3. The top number is not divisible by 5. Neither number is divisible by 7, and neither number is divisible by 11. So 36 over 25 gives me my answer. Alright, and our last one, we have 13 over 20 plus 34 over 50. So we are going to find our least common multiple between 20 and 50. So I start by my biggest one first. 50, 100, 150, 200. Now I count by my smaller number, 20. 20 plus 20 is 40, 40 plus 20 is 60, 80, 100, and I can stop there because I have 100 in both of them. So I know my denominator is going to be 100. So now let's figure out what our new fraction is. 13 over 20, I know my denominator is 100. 20 times what gives me 100 for an answer? Right, 20 times 5. So now I need to do 13 times 5. And I don't know about you, but I don't have that fact memorized. So let's just do it off to the side. 5 times 3 is 15. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 1 is 6. So I have 65 over 100. Alright, now let's do the same thing with 34 over 50. I know my denominator is 100. 50 times 2 gives me 100, so I'm doing 34 times 2, which gives me 68. So I have my two fractions done. Now I'm going to add them together. 65 over 100 plus 68 over 100. My denominator stays 100. 65 plus 68 gives us 133. And then I know I cannot simplify 133 over 100, so I am done. Alright, now let's look at subtracting. So subtracting is very similar. So we need to find common denominators by finding the least common multiple. So to do that, let's count by 6s and let's count by 4s. Start with my bigger number, 6, 12, 18, 24, we can stop there. Now let's do the 4s. 4, 8, 12, and if you notice, they both have 12. So my new denominator is 12. Alright, I'm just going to write it over here to figure out what our new fraction is. So I need to multiply 4/6 by what to get my denominator as 12? Right, I need to multiply by 2. 6 times 2 gives me 12, so 4 times 2 gives me 8. So I multiplied 4/6 by 2. What about 1/4? What do I need to multiply it by? 4 times 3 gives me 12, so 1 times 3 gives me 3. So I multiplied 1/4 by 3. Now I'm going to rewrite my fractions with a common denominator and then subtract them. So I had 8 over 12 minus 3 over 12. When you subtract 8 minus 3, you get 5, and our denominators stay the same. So it's very similar to adding because we need to find the least common multiple, but now we are subtracting. So let's start with number 1. I have 5/7 minus 2/3. Again, we do our least common multiple. Start with your bigger number, 7, 14, 21, 28. That should be good. Now let's count by 3s. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21. So you can circle 21, and now let's figure out our new fractions. I have 5/7, and I know my denominator is 21. 7 times 3 gives me 21. 5 times 3 gives me 15. And then 2/3. We know our denominator is 21. 3 times 7 gives me 21. 2 times 7 gives me 14. So now I add my fractions. I have 15 over 21 plus 14 over 21. Oops, sorry, I'm not adding anymore. I am subtracting. So sorry. When you subtract, our denominators stay the same, but now I'm doing 15 minus 14, which gives me 1 over 21 for an answer. If you've gotten this far, keep watching, but here's your secret word to be able to get 1 bonus point on any assignment that you don't have a 10 out of 10 on. Your bonus word is hot chocolate. So you can message me on Schoology if you've watched to this point, but you have to keep watching all the way to the end. Alright, let's look at number 2. 2/3 minus 3/8. So I need to find my common denominators, so I'm going to find my least common multiple. Count by your biggest number first. 8, 16, 24, 32. I think that's enough. Now let's count by our threes. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24. 24 is the one that they both have in common. So let's rewrite our fractions. I have 2/3 with now a new denominator of 24. 3 times 8 gives me 24. 2 times 8 gives me 16. And now I have 3/8, the new denominator of 24. 8 times 3 gives me 24. 3 times 3 gives me 9. So now we're going to subtract those numbers. 16 over 24 minus 9 over 24. When I subtract, I know my denominators stay the same, so my denominator is still 24. But now I'm taking 16 minus 9, which gives me 7. And I can't simplify 7 over 24, so that is my answer. Alright, 2 left. I'm going to go a little faster through these two. I have 6 9ths and I have 2 5ths. So we're going to find our least common multiple. Start with our 9s. 9, 18, 27, 36, 45. Alright, now let's do 5s. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45 is my least common multiple. So now we're going to find our new fractions. No, my denominator is 45. 9 times 5 gives me 45. 6 times 5 is 30. And then I have 2 5ths with a new denominator of 45. 5 times 9 gives me 45, so I need to take 2 times 9, which is 18. And now we're going to subtract these numbers. I have 30 over 45 minus 18 over 45. My denominator is going to stay the same. When I subtract, I get 12. Alright, but I can simplify this fraction. 12 and 45 are both divisible by 3. So we're going to divide by 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4. 15 divided by 3 is 15. Sorry, 45 divided by 3 is 15. And we are done. And our last problem, 7/12 minus 1/5. Alright, so when I need to find my common denominator by figuring out least common multiple. So let's count by 12s. 12, 24, 36, 48, 60. And if you know that any number that I count by 5s gives me a 5 or a 0, I know my common denominator is going to be 60 without even counting them all out. So I'm taking 7 over 12. My new denominator is 60. 12 times 5 gives me 60, so I'm taking 7 times 5, which is 35. And then I have to do the same with 1/5. 5 times 12 gives me 60, so 1 times 12 gives me 12. Now I subtract these numbers. 35 over 60 minus 12 over 60. My denominator is 60. 35 minus 12 gives me 23 for an answer. And those can't simplify, so I am done. Please let me know if you have any questions over this lesson. You have one IXL to do. Otherwise, have a great rest of your day. Bye 7th grade. Sorry, you're 7th grade, I know.